The massive gray hull of the USS Vengeance sat quietly in the docking bay of the space station. It was a ship built for war, thick and heavy, unlike the sleek and shiny vessels of the alien races docked nearby. Inside the bridge, the air was cool and still. The crew worked at their stations with quiet focus. They were humans from the U.S. fleet, and they were far from home. Captain Jinwoo sat in his command chair at the center of the room. He was a man with a face like stone. He did not show emotion. He watched the main screen, which showed the view outside. Hundreds of alien ships floated in the distance. They looked like jewels, glowing with soft blue and green lights. They were beautiful, but Jinwoo knew that beauty often hid danger. "Captain," a voice said. It was Lieutenant Daehyun. He was the weapons officer, a young man with sharp eyes and a quick temper. "The delegation is ready to board. They are asking for permission to enter the ship." Jinwoo nodded once. "Let them in," he said. "But tell the security team to stay alert. The Vogue are not friendly guests." The Vogue were a tall and thin alien species. They had long necks and smooth, pale skin that shimmered slightly. They considered themselves the peak of civilization in the galaxy. They had technology that humans could only dream of, or so they said. Today, they were here for an inspection. They wanted to see if the humans were worthy to join the Galactic Defense Council. The heavy metal doors of the bridge slid open with a hiss. Commander Krav walked in. He was the leader of the Vogue group. He wore a tight silver suit that looked like it was made of liquid metal. Behind him walked 3 other Vogue officers. They moved with a slow grace, looking around the human bridge with expressions of pure disgust. The bridge of the USS Vengeance was not shiny. It was functional. There were exposed pipes, thick cables, and screens that displayed data in harsh colors. It smelled like oil and ozone. To the Vogue, it smelled like a cave. Commander Krav stopped in the middle of the bridge. He looked at Captain Jinwoo. He did not bow. He did not smile. He curled his lip, showing small, pointed teeth. "Captain," Krav said. His voice sounded like wind chimes, but his words were sharp. "We have arrived to assess your capabilities. The Council requires that all new members have a minimum level of technology. I must say, looking at your ship, I am worried." Jinwoo did not stand up. He kept his hands on the armrests of his chair. "We are ready for the assessment, Commander. Our capabilities are sufficient." Krav let out a short, mocking laugh. "Sufficient? That is a strong word. We scanned your ship on the way in. Your hull is made of thick steel alloys. Your engines burn chemical reactions. It is quaint. It is like looking at a history museum." Daehyun gripped the edge of his control panel. His knuckles turned white. He wanted to speak, but he knew he had to wait for his captain. Ambassador Suhi stepped forward from her station near the back. She was dressed in a neat uniform, her hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her job was to keep the peace. "Commander Krav," she said softly, "our technology may look different, but it serves us well. We value reliability over elegance." Krav turned his gaze to her. He looked her up and down. "Reliability? Is that what you call it? Come, show me your weapons bay. I wish to see these reliable tools you speak of." Jinwoo stood up. Lieutenant Daehyun led the way. The group walked through the corridors of the ship. They passed crew members who stopped to salute. The Vogue looked at the humans with pity, as if they were looking at animals in a zoo. They whispered to each other in their own language, chirping sounds that made the human crew feel uncomfortable. They reached the main weapons bay. It was a huge room filled with racks of ammunition and heavy machinery. The room was dimly lit. In the center sat the pride of the ship's arsenal. It was not a laser cannon. It was not a plasma emitter. It was a massive railgun. It looked like a long, thick tube of dark metal. Next to it were stacked the ammunition huge metal rods as tall as a man, made of dense tungsten and depleted uranium. Krav stopped. He stared at the metal rods. Then he began to laugh. It was a loud, echoing sound. Metal? Krav asked, pointing a long finger at the stack. You bring metal rods? You intend to throw rocks at the enemy? Dahan stepped forward, his face red. That is a tungsten penetrator, traveling at 4% of the speed of light. It hits with the force of a nuclear bomb. Krav waved his hand, dismissing the claim. Nonsense. Modern warfare is about energy. We use shields. We use lasers. Do you know what a shield does to a physical object? It pushes it away. Your slow metal will bounce off our energy barriers like a ball bouncing off a wall. This is primitive. This is barbaric. He walked over to a rack of smaller firearms. He picked up a heavy human rifle. It was solid and heavy in his thin hands. Gunpowder? He asked, reading the label. You still use chemical explosions to propel bits of lead? We stopped using kinetic weapons 1,000 years ago. This is embarrassing. Krav dropped the rifle on the floor. It landed with a heavy clatter. The sound echoed in the silent room. The human soldiers in the room tensed up. They looked ready to fight. Krav looked at Captain Jinwoo. I have seen enough. I will report to the council that the humans are not ready. Your weapons are toys. In a real fight against real technology, you would be destroyed in seconds. It is a mercy that we did not allow you to fight on the front lines. You would only get in the way. Jinwoo looked at the rifle on the floor. Then he looked up at Krav. His eyes were dark and cold. Our weapons have served us for a long time, Commander. We have survived many things. Survival is not the same as victory, Krav sneered. He turned his back on the humans. We will proceed with the war games tomorrow. Do not be surprised when you fail. I suggest you stay in the back, where you will be safe. Let the advanced races handle the threats. Krav and his delegation walked out of the room, leaving the silence behind them. The door hissed shut. Daehyun kicked a nearby crate. I cannot believe him. He thinks we are savages. He thinks his shiny shields make him a god. Ambassador Suhee sighed and picked up the rifle from the floor. She checked it for damage. He is arrogant, Daehyun. But his arrogance is not our problem. Let them believe what they want. Captain Jinwoo walked to the large railgun. He placed a hand on the cold metal barrel. Tomorrow, he said quietly, tomorrow, they will learn the difference between theory and reality. In space, there is no such thing as a perfect shield. He turned to his crew. His voice was low but firm. Prepare the ship. Load the main cannon. If the Vob want a show, we will give them one. But it will not be the show they expect. The crew straightened their backs. The anger in the room shifted to determination. They knew their weapons were old. They knew they were dirty and loud. But they also knew they were deadly. The Vogue had made a mistake. They had confused simplicity with weakness. Tomorrow, the galaxy would see just how dangerous a primitive human could be. The next day arrived with a cold silence in the space station. The viewing decks were packed with aliens from all corners of the galaxy. They were there to watch the display. The grandstand was filled with creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and some floated in tanks of water. They were all chatting excitedly. They wanted to see the might of the Vogue Empire. The humans were just an opening act, a joke to pass the time. The USS Vengeance moved out of the docking bay. It slid through the black void of space like a dark shadow. On the bridge, Captain Jinwoo watched the stars. The ship was on full alert. The crew wore their helmets and pressure suits. They were ready for anything. Put the target on screen, Jinwoo ordered. The main screen flickered. A large image appeared. It was a captured asteroid, designated Target Echo. It was a massive rock, roughly the size of a mountain. It was spinning slowly in the distance. This was the test. The humans had to destroy it to prove their worth. Target locked, Daehyun said from his station. His voice was steady, but his heart was beating fast. He remembered the laughter from the day before. He remembered the way Krav had dropped the rifle on the floor. He wanted to wipe that smirk off the alien's face. Floating next to the USS Vengeance was the Vogue flagship, the Silencer. It was a beautiful ship, shaped like a needle, made of polished white metal. It glowed with a soft blue light. Commander Krav's face appeared on the communication screen. He looked bored. "Human vessel," Krav said. His voice was smooth. "We have finished our calibration. We will demonstrate the proper way to dispose of space debris. Watch closely. Your primitive eyes might find it hard to follow our advanced technology." Jin-Woo did not reply. He just watched. The Silencer pointed its nose at a different asteroid. Target Alpha. A bright beam of green light shot out from the ship. It was perfectly straight and silent. The beam hit the rock. In a flash, the rock turned red, then white, and then it simply vanished. There was no explosion, no debris. The rock had been vaporized. It was turned into gas and dust instantly. The crowd on the space station cheered. The viewing screens showed the aliens clapping and shouting in approval. Krav's face returned to the screen. He was smiling. "That," he said, "is efficiency. That is power. Now, humans, it is your turn. Try not to miss. Although, if you do, we will understand. Your targeting systems are likely powered by steam." The bridge crew of the Vengeance growled quietly. "Easy," Jin-Woo said. "Do not let him distract you. Focus on the mission." Krav cut the connection. The Vengeance was alone again. The silence on the bridge was heavy. "Power to the main railgun," Jin-Woo commanded. "Load the heavy slug." In the belly of the ship, massive magnetic rails began to hum. The sound vibrated through the floor. It was a deep, low growl, like a beast waking up. A robotic arm grabbed a huge metal rod. It was the tungsten penetrator. The rod was dark gray and heavy. It had no explosives inside. It was just a solid piece of metal, sharpened to a point at the tip. The arm loaded the rod into the breech. The magnetic locks engaged. "Railgun charged," Daehyun reported. "Projectile is in the tube. We are ready to fire." Ensign Jisoo looked up from her sensor station. She looked nervous. "Sir, sensors show the Target Echo has a thick core. It is mostly iron. It will be hard to break." "Iron is strong," Jin-Woo said. "But metal is stronger. Fire when ready." The crew waited. The moment stretched out. Outside the ship, the Vogue ships and the alien crowd watched. They expected a small flash, or perhaps a miss shot. They expected the humans to fail. Daehyun took a deep breath. He pressed his finger over the red button on his console. "Firing," he said. He pushed the button. There was no gentle beam of light. There was no silent hum. The USS Vengeance shuddered violently. It felt like the ship had been kicked by a giant. A thunderous crack echoed through the hull, even though space was a vacuum. The sound traveled through the metal of the ship itself. Out of the front of the ship, the railgun fired to the naked eye. It looked like a blur. The slug was shot forward with incredible force. It was accelerated by the magnets to nearly the speed of light. It ripped through the vacuum of space. It did not glow. It did not sparkle. It was just a dark shadow moving faster than the eye could track. The crowd on the station gasped. They had never seen a kinetic weapon used at this scale. It was not elegant. It was violent. The slug crossed the distance between the ship and the asteroid in a blink of an eye. It hit target Echo. The Vogue shields on the asteroid, put there to test the shooters, flickered into existence. They were designed to stop energy. They were calibrated to disperse heat and light. The shields flared blue as the metal slug approached, but the slug did not stop. The energy shield rippled. It tried to push the slug away, but the mass was too great. The kinetic energy was too strong. The shield popped like a soap bubble. It shattered. The tungsten rod slammed into the asteroid. It did not burn the rock. It did not vaporize it. It crashed into the surface with the force of a falling moon. The impact was catastrophic. The shockwave was instant. The sound was a deafening boom that was picked up by every sensor in the system. The asteroid did not just break. It exploded. Chunks of rock the size of houses flew outward in all directions. A cloud of dust and debris expanded rapidly. The target was not just destroyed. It was obliterated. The core of the asteroid cracked open, revealing the molten metal inside. The heat from the impact was blinding. The bridge of the USS Vengeance shook as the shock wave hit their shields. Warning lights flashed. Impact confirmed, Daehyun shouted. He was grinning now. Target is gone. Total destruction. Jin-Woo nodded. Status on the Vogue ship? They are scanning the debris, Jisoo said. She was looking at her data screen closely. They seem confused. Their sensors are going crazy. They are picking up fragments moving at high speeds. It's a mess. The main screen changed. It showed the bridge of the silencer again. Commander Krav was there. But he was not smiling. He was standing up. His pale face looked even paler. He was staring at a monitor on his left. Impossible, Krav whispered. He looked up at the screen, looking at Captain Jin-Woo. You destroyed the target, but you used a solid object. That is not how we fight. Where is the energy weapon? Where is the beam? Jin-Woo leaned back in his chair. He folded his hands in his lap. His face was calm. We told you, Commander. We do not use light. We use mass. We use speed. Your shields are designed for energy. They are weak against physics. Krav blinked his large eyes. Physics? He asked, his voice trembling. F equals ma, Jin-Woo said simply. Force equals mass times acceleration. We have a lot of mass, and we have a lot of acceleration. We do not need lasers when we have the power of a meteor strike in a gun barrel. Krav looked away. He looked at the debris floating in space. The beautiful, clean, and empty space was now filled with jagged rocks and dust. It was dirty. It was chaotic. It was exactly how humans liked it. The game is not over yet, Jin-Woo said. Shall we continue to the next target? Krav did not answer immediately. He looked shaken. He looked at his own officers, who were frantically typing on their screens. They were checking their shield frequencies. They were checking their armor. They had not expected the humans to actually hit something. They had not expected the primitive weapons to work. Proceed, Krav said finally, his voice losing its musical quality. Proceed to the next phase. But be warned. The next phase involves moving targets. It involves combat simulations. Your slow metal will not hit us when we are moving. We will see, Jin-Woo said. The screen went black. The bridge of the Vengeance relaxed. The crew looked at each other. The fear was gone. The mocking words from the day before meant nothing now. Daehyun laughed. Did you see his face? He looked like he saw a ghost. He saw a piece of tungsten moving at 30,000 kilometers per second, Jin-Woo corrected. That is scarier than a ghost. Prepare for combat maneuvers. The real test starts now. The simulation arena was a vast area of open space, marked by floating sensor buoys, The viewing screens on the station showed the empty void, waiting for the action to begin. The crowd of aliens had settled down after the shock of the first demonstration, but a new tension filled the air. The Vogue were no longer laughing. They were agitated. They had prepared a new test, a combat scenario that they thought would prove their superiority once and for all. The next phase is the ship-to-ship engagement, Ambassador Suhi announced over the comms channel. Her voice was steady, trying to keep the mood professional. The goal is to disable the opponent's engines without destroying the hull. On the bridge of the USS Vengeance, the crew was busy. The lights had dimmed to a red combat hue. Screens flashed with tactical data. The mood was serious but focused. They had tasted victory with the asteroid, but this was different. This was a fight against moving targets. Enemy ships approaching, Ensign Jisoo reported. Her fingers flew across her glass console. 3 Vogue attack drones. They are fast. They are using high-frequency thrusters. Captain Jinwoo leaned forward. Put them on screen. 3 sleek silver shapes appeared in the distance. They were smaller than the main Vogue battleship, built for speed and agility. They danced through space, moving in zigzag patterns. They were hard to track. They were like silver needles threading through the stars. Commander Krav's voice crackled over the speakers. He sounded confident again. Humans observe. These drones are controlled by our advanced AI. They can predict your aiming vectors. You cannot hit them with your slow projectiles. Watch and learn. The 3 drones broke formation. They surged toward the USS Vengeance. They did not fire heavy weapons yet. They were probing the defenses. They fired small, rapid pulses of green plasma. The shots streaked toward the human ship. Brace for impact, Daehyun said. The plasma bolts hit the hull of the Vengeance. They splashed against the thick armor plating. Smoke and sparks flew, but the bolts did not penetrate. The armor was layered, designed to ablate and dissipate heat. It was crude compared to shimmering energy shields, but it was tough. Damage report, Jinwoo asked. Surface scorching on Deck 4, Jisoo replied. Armor integrity is at 99%. No breaches. The Vogue were playing with them. The drones circled the human ship like sharks, firing quick bursts. They were trying to wear down the crew, to frustrate them. They knew human targeting computers were slower than Vogue A. They are too fast for the main cannon, Daehyun growled. He was struggling to get a lock. Every time he aligned the reticle, the drone would dart away. The railgun takes too long to recharge between shots. We need to switch to secondary batteries. Activate the close-in weapon systems, Jinwoo ordered. Show them what lead can do. See, IWS online, Daehyun said. Along the sides of the USS Vengeance, panels slid open. Dozens of smaller turrets emerged. They were not laser emitters. They were rotary cannons Gatling guns. Each one had 6 spinning barrels. They were simple machines, driven by electric motors. They fired solid rounds, thousands of them per minute. The Vogue drones swooped in for another pass. They flew in a tight formation, confident in their speed. They charged their plasma cannons for a bigger strike. Fire, Jinwoo said. The silence of space was broken by the visual chaos of the guns. Muzzles flashed rapidly. Tracers streaked out from the human ship. It looked like a wall of red light erupting from the hull. The Vogue drones tried to dodge. They twisted and turned. But the sheer volume of fire was impossible to avoid. The humans were not aiming at where the drones were. They were filling the sky with metal. A swarm of bullets slammed into the lid drone. Its shields flared. The shields were tuned to deflect energy, not solid matter. The high-velocity tungsten rounds hammered the shield. 1 round hit, then 10, then 100. The shield generator overheated and failed. Without the shield, the drone was exposed. The bullets tore into the silver hull. Metal ripped apart. Sparks flew as the ammunition shredded the engines. One drone spun out of control, venting gas. It drifted away, disabled. "One target down," Jisoo shouted. The other two drones broke off their attack. They retreated to a safe distance, regrouping. They seemed confused. The VOG AI was recalculating. It had not accounted for a wall of lead. Krav's voice returned. He sounded angry. "You are cheating. You are filling the vacuum with debris. That is reckless. You are endangering the navigation of the sector." "We are disabling the enemy," Jinwoo replied calmly. "That is the objective. Or does the VOG military not have armor? We have shields," Krav yelled. "Perfect shields. Your primitive bullets are just a nuisance. Attack pattern Delta. Wipe them out." The two remaining drones charged again. This time, they did not dance. They came straight in, moving at top speed. They launched a salvo of heavy missiles. The missiles were fast, trailing blue smoke. "Incoming ordnance," Daehyun warned. "Point defense is engaging." The rotary cannons swiveled. They tracked the incoming missiles. The air filled with explosions as the human bullets detonated the VOG warheads before they could reach the ship. The shock waves rocked the Vengeance, but the hull held. "Steady," Jinwoo said. "Pilot Minjun, launch the interceptors." "Copy that, Captain." Minchun's voice came over the radio. He was in the hangar bay. The side bay doors of the Vengeance opened. 6 human fighter ships launched. They were small, boxy, and ugly compared to the smooth VOG drones. They had stubby wings and thick cockpits. They were 700 space superiority fighters, often called hammers by the pilots. "Hammers away," Minjun said. "Engaging targets." The human fighters did not use lasers. They carried short-range missiles and heavy cannons. They swarmed toward the VOG drones. The VOG drones turned their attention to the fighters. They fired their plasma beams. One beam grazed a fighter, melting a piece of the wing, but the pilot compensated. The human ships were durable. "I have a lock," Minjun said. "Fox 2. He fired a missile. It was a kinetic killer vehicle. It had no explosive warhead. It was simply a guided rocket that slammed into its target at immense speed. The missile struck the second drone square in the engine exhaust. The impact was massive. The engine housing crumpled. The drone went dark, its power core severed by the physical force of the collision. "2 down," Jisoo cheered. The last drone realized it was outnumbered. It turned to flee, accelerating toward the safety of the VOG mothership. "It is running," Daehyun said. "Should we pursue?" "No," Jinwoo said. "Let it run. We have made our point, but we can give them a parting gift." Jinwoo looked at the tactical map. He saw the drone retreating in a straight line. "Daehyun, aim the main railgun. Lead the target. I want a shot across their bow. You want to warn them?" "I want to scare them," Jinwoo said. "Fire a proximity round." The railgun hummed again. It fired a single shot. The slug sped through space, faster than sound, faster than the eye could see. It crossed the path of the fleeing drone. It missed the drone by only 10 meters. The shockwave of the passing slug was so intense that it rattled the drone. The sensors on the VOG ship went wild. The sheer displacement of space from the high-speed projectile destabilized the drone's flight path. It tumbled, spinning wildly before its pilot AI could correct it. The bridge of the Vengeance was silent. The crew watched the screen. The drone was not destroyed, but it was humiliated. It crawled back to the mothership, limping. Krav did not call him this time. There was no taunt. There was only silence on the comms line. The alien crowd in the viewing station was roaring. They were not cheering for the Vogue. They were cheering for the humans. They were cheering for the underdogs who fought with fire and iron. Jinwoo stood up. He adjusted his uniform. He looked at his crew. They were sweating, but they were smiling. "Good work," Jinwoo said. They wanted a show. They got one. Now, let's see if they want to talk, or if they want to fight for real. He walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "The primitives are waking up," he whispered to himself. "And we brought our hammers." The silence from the Vogue ships did not last long. The humiliation of losing 3 drones to primitive weapons was too much for their pride. On the viewing screens, the massive white needle ship, the Silencer, began to glow brighter. Its engines flared with a blue light that was painful to look at. They were no longer interested in simulations or games. They wanted to prove a point. Captain Jinwoo saw the change in the enemy's stance immediately. The sleek ship was turning its main body toward the USS Vengeance. The graceful curves of the vessel now looked sharp and hostile. "They are charging weapons," Ensign Jisoo said. Her voice was tight. "Commander Krav has overridden the safety protocols. This is no longer a simulation. They are loading live warheads." Ambassador Soo-hee stepped forward, her face pale. "They cannot do that. The Council rules forbid live fire in the exhibition zone. They are breaking the law. Their pride is the only law they care about right now," Jinwoo said. His voice was calm, cutting through the panic. "They need to erase the embarrassment. If they destroy us, they can claim our weapons malfunctioned or that we were too unstable to control. They want to sweep us under the rug." Lieutenant Daehyun slammed his fist onto his console. "They are targeting our bridge. I can see the energy spike. They want a quick kill. Raise shields," Jinwoo ordered. "All power to forward armor. Evade pattern Delta." The USS Vengeance groaned as its thrusters fired. The heavy ship leaned to the side, trying to move out of the line of fire. But the Silencer was fast. A massive beam of concentrated plasma erupted from the enemy ship. It was a beam of pure destruction. Thicker than the human ship itself, it missed the center of the Vengeance by a few hundred meters. The beam grazed the port side of the human ship. The heat was incredible. The armor plating on the side turned red, then white, and then began to melt away like wax. The air inside the ship hissed as the heat transferred through the hull. "All breach on decks 5 and 6. Jisoo shouted. "Sealing those sections now. Fire suppression teams are responding." "Report," Jinwoo asked, watching the melting metal on the screen. "Armor is holding," Daehyun said, gritting his teeth. "It hurt them, but it didn't kill us. The ablative layer burned off and took the heat with it. A shield would have collapsed and let the beam cut us in half. The armor just got hot." The Silencer fired again. This time, they used smaller rapid-fire energy lances. The bolts of green energy slammed into the human ship. Smoke poured from the impact sites. The human ship rocked back and forth under the assault. On the viewing station, the alien crowd was screaming. Some were cheering for the Vogue, thinking they were putting the humans in their place. Others watched in horror as the friendly exercise turned into a massacre. The Vogue were relentless. They circled the Vengeance, firing constantly. Commander Krav's face appeared on the screen. He looked furious. His eyes were wide and manic. "Yield!" he screamed. "Yield your vessel. You have survived one volley, but you cannot last. Your primitive steel is melting. Admit your inferiority." Jinwoo looked at the screen. He did not flinch. He did not see a superior being. He saw a bully who had lost his temper. "We do not yield," Jinwoo said. His voice was low, like distant thunder. "And you have made a mistake. You have shown us your hand." He turned to his crew. "They think we are weak, because we are taking damage. They think their shields make them invincible. They have forgotten that energy is fragile. Physics is absolute. Jinwoo leaned over the tactical map. Pilot Minjun, launch all fighter squadrons. I want them to swarm the enemy's sensor array. Create chaos. Copy, Captain, Minjun said over the radio. Squadrons away. The small, boxy human fighters spilled out of the Vengeance like angry bees. They were agile and fast. They darted toward the silencer. The Vogue ship tried to target them with its point defense lasers. The beams sliced through space, hitting a few fighters, but there were too many. The human pilots were erratic, moving in jagged lines, making them hard to hit. While the Vogue were distracted by the gnats, Jinwoo turned to Daehyun. Load the main railgun. But do not aim for the hull. Aim for the hull, sir? Daehyun asked, confused. If we hit their bridge, we kill them all. No, Jinwoo said. We are not murderers. We are warriors. Aim for their shield generator. It is located on the dorsal fin, near the engine exhaust. It is the source of their arrogance. Targeting the dorsal fin, Daehyun said. The railgun hummed to life again. The sound was a deep vibration that everyone could feel in their bones. Locked on. But sir, they are moving fast. Their shields are at maximum strength. They might deflect the shot. They will try, Jinwoo said. Fire. The USS Vengeance shuddered. The massive slug launched into the void. It was a simple piece of metal, heavy and fast. It tore through the vacuum, invisible to the naked eye until it struck. The silencer was busy firing at the fighters. They did not see the incoming round until it was too late. Their sensors screamed a warning. The Vogue commanders tried to reinforce their shields. The slug hit the rear of the ship. It slammed into the shimmering blue bubble of the shield. The energy barrier flared bright white, straining against the impact. For a second, it looked like it might hold, but the slug was moving too fast. It was too heavy. The shield bubble rippled violently. Then it popped. The shield generator on the dorsal fin exploded in a shower of sparks and debris. The sudden loss of power sent a shockwave through the Vogue ship. The lights on the enemy vessel flickered and died for a moment. The ship listed to the side, losing its graceful posture. Shield down, Jisoo shouted. Direct hit on the generator. They are exposed. On the bridge of the silencer, alarms were blaring. The Vogue crew was in chaos. They had never fought without their shields. They felt naked. They felt fear. Commander Krav's face appeared on the screen again. The connection was filled with static. He looked terrified. How? He stammered. How did you penetrate the barrier? It is impossible. We are the masters of energy. Jinwoo stood up. He adjusted his jacket. He looked straight into the camera. You rely on lights and glass, Jinwoo said. We rely on force. Your shields are strong, but they have limits. Newton's laws do not care about your technology. An object in motion stays in motion. And my object just broke your window. Get back. Krav shouted, his voice cracking. Stay back. We will self-destruct if you board us. We are not boarding, Jinwoo said. We are done. Do you yield? The silencer hung in space, drifting slightly. Its weapons were silent. Its hull was scarred from the exploding generator. The fight had gone out of them. I yield, Krav whispered. The shame was evident on his face. The crowd on the viewing station was silent. Then, a slow clap started. It grew louder. It was not a cheer for the Vogue. It was a cheer for the humans. The primitives had just defeated the most advanced fleet in the sector with a single shot. Jinwoo cut the feed. He looked at his crew. They were exhausted, covered in sweat and soot from the firefight. but they were alive. "Damage control teams to the port side," Jinwoo ordered. "Let's patch up the holes. I think the council will want to speak with us now." The battle was over. The silence that followed was heavy. The USS Vengeance sat in the dark void, its gray hull scarred and smoking from the laser burns. The ship looked battered, like a boxer who had taken a hard hit but remained standing. Across from them, the Vogue flagship, the Silencer, drifted helplessly. Its beautiful white plating was marred by scorch marks, and its shield generator was a smoking crater. The blue lights of the ship flickered weakly, like a dying heartbeat. On the bridge of the human ship, the crew waited. They were still at their stations, waiting for the final order. The tension had not left the air. "Status report," Captain Jinwoo said. He smoothed the front of his uniform. His face was calm, hiding the exhaustion he felt. "The enemy is disabled," Lieutenant Daehyun reported. He leaned back in his chair, letting out a long breath. "Their weapons are offline. Their shields are gone. They are dead in the water." Ambassador Suhee stepped up beside the captain. She looked at the main screen. "The council is in an uproar," she said quietly. "They are demanding answers. The Vogue are claiming we used illegal technology." Jinwoo scoffed. It was a dry, humorless sound. "Illegal? We used a metal rod. There is nothing illegal about physics." He pressed a button on his console. "Open a channel to the Vogue ship. Let them see us." The screen flickered. The image of the bridge of the Silencer appeared. It was chaotic. Smoke filled the room. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. Vogue crew members ran back and forth, trying to repair systems that were broken beyond their understanding. In the center of the chaos stood Commander Krav. He looked different now. His shimmering silver suit was torn and blackened. His pale face was covered in soot. He looked smaller somehow. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a shaky fear. "Commander," Jinwoo said. His voice was level. "Do you require assistance? We have medical teams and repair drones ready to deploy." Krav flinched. He looked up at the screen as if he expected Jinwoo to fire again. He gripped the edge of his console to steady himself. You destroyed our shields," Krav stammered. His voice had lost its musical chime. It was raspy and broken. "That should not be possible. Our shields are the best in the galaxy. They can deflect solar flares. They can stop plasma storms. How did you break them with a rock?" Jinwoo leaned forward. "That is your mistake, Commander. You built your defenses to stop energy. You forgot about mass. You forgot about force. A shield is just a wall of energy. Hit it hard enough and it falls down." Krav stared at him. He looked at his hands, which were shaking. "We called you primitives," he whispered. "We thought you were savages because you use fire and metal. We thought we were gods because we use light. Gods bleed just like everyone else." Daehyun muttered from his station. Jinwoo held up a hand to silence his officer. "We are not gods, Commander. We are survivors. We come from a world where the gravity is heavy and the weather is violent. We learn to build things that last. We learn to build weapons that do not fail. Your technology is elegant. Ours is effective." On the viewing screens of the space station, the alien crowds were watching. Millions of eyes were on the two ships. The commentary had stopped. There was no more mockery. The reptilians, the insectoids, and the aquatic races watched in stunned silence. The humans, the new species, the underdogs, had just put the strongest military power in the sector on its knees. Krav straightened his back. He tried to regain some dignity, but it was a poor attempt. "I yield," he said formally. "The Vogue Empire concedes the match. Your technology is recognized." "Keep your recognition," Jinwoo said. "We just want respect." We are here to join the council as equals. Do we have your vote? Krav looked away. He looked at the debris of his shield generator floating outside his window. He looked at the jagged, ugly railgun of the human ship. He realized that all his advanced science had failed him. The simple, brutal logic of the human weapon had won the day. You have it, Krav said softly. You have my vote. The screen went black. The connection was cut. A cheer erupted on the bridge of the USS Vengeance. The crew high-fived each other. Ensign Jisoo wiped a tear from her eye. Daehyun pumped his fist in the air. Jinwoo allowed himself a small smile. He turned to Ambassador Soo-hee. It seems we made it. Soo-hee nodded. She looked tired but happy. You have made a point, Captain. But we have also made enemies. The Vogue will not forget this humiliation easily. Let them remember it, Jinwoo said. Fear is better than pity. They will not mock us again. They will think twice before they challenge the USA fleet. The ship began to turn. The engines rumbled to life. The USS Vengeance, heavy and scarred, moved away from the disabled Vogue ship. It headed toward the docking bay of the space station. They were no longer the guests of honor. They were the victors of the day. Pilot Min Chun's voice came over the intercom from the fighter bay. Captain, the squadrons are returning. We took some hits, but we are all home. The other alien pilots are saluting us on the way in. Return to base, Min-jun, Jinwoo said. Good work today. As the ship docked, the airlocks hissed open. Captain Jinwoo, Ambassador Soo-hee, and Lieutenant Daehyun walked down the ramp. They expected to see a quiet crowd. Instead, they were met by a wall of sound. Aliens of all shapes and sizes lined the corridors. They were not shouting insults. They were shouting greetings. A tall, four-armed alien guard stepped forward. He looked at Jinwoo. He tapped his chest with his fist in a gesture of respect. Impact, the alien said in broken English. Strong impact. Jinwoo nodded. Strong impact. The message was clear. The universe was a dangerous place. It was filled with empires and alliances that had grown soft on technology and ease. They had forgotten the simple rules of survival. They had forgotten that the universe does not care about elegance. It only cares about who is left standing. The humans had arrived. They brought their primitive weapons. They brought their heavy metal and their gunpowder. They brought their kinetic energy and their stubborn refusal to die. And in doing so, they reminded the galaxy of a lesson that had been lost for 1,000 years. When you strip away the shields and you turn off the lasers, the winner is the one who hits the hardest. Jinwoo looked out the viewport one last time. He saw the stars. They were cold and distant. But for the first time, they did not seem hostile. They seemed like a challenge. And humanity was ready to answer it. Let's go home, Jinwoo said. The crew walked together into the station, their boots echoing on the metal floor. They walked with their heads held high. They were humans, and they had proven that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The mocking had stopped. The respect had begun. And somewhere in the back of every alien mind, a new thought took root. Do not anger the humans. They bring hammers to a knife fight, and they always win.
Thanks for watching my video. Like, subscribe and share.